Now let's discuss King, Queen, 7. But we're going to be discussing under the gun plus 1 against button. So remember, under the gun plus 1 is going to be checking the spot a decent amount of the time. If under the gun plus 1 was in position against, let's say, the big blind, they'd be betting the spot. But against the button, they do have to check a decent amount of the time. When it goes check, check on the flop, you're going to find that the under the gun plus 1 player is in pretty great shape on basically all turns because of the range that under the gun plus 1 is checking with compared to the range that the button is checking with. Because under the gun plus 1 is checking a whole lot of medium strength hands, like some kings and some queens and some underpairs and some sevens and some ace highs, right? So this is a spot where you're going to be in pretty good shape on most turns. However, because you're out of position, you still can't bet every single time. I guess unless the turn's a king or a queen, right? Turn king or a queen is particularly great because the under the gun plus 1 player would check some kings and queens, whereas the player on the button would very often bet if they had a king, right? So they don't have very many kings in their range, and if there's a queen, that reduces the number of combinations of queens that the button could have. So kind of a neat spot. Let's take a look at that queen turn. This is a spot where you see solver bets every single time. Only checks 3% of the time. Kind of neat to see, right? Take a look at this range. Again, whatever strategy you're using with your implementable strategy that you use on the flop will perhaps not have exactly the same range distribution, but it'll be comparable. I know that we're checking a lot of queens on the flop, so we're going to have a lot of nut hands here. And the fact that we have a lot of nut hands means our equity is through the roof. When our equity is through the roof, we get to bet very, very frequently, right? So that makes logical sense. On a 3, though, we have to continue betting with just our best made hands in our draws and checking our marginal made hands in our junk. And as you can see in this scenario, we are betting with whatever slow plays we had on the flop, like pocket aces, pocket kings. Not betting pocket queens, but I think betting pocket queens is probably fine. Also notice that some of our marginal made hands on the flop that we opted to check essentially become bet as premium hands. So you see, like ace queen starts to bet. A king, king jack, king 10, king 9, king 8, very often bet, right? And then we're going to have to look a little bit hard for draws here. So what draws are available? It's going to be stuff like ace jack, ace 10, and then just some low ace x offsuit, because really we don't have a whole lot of junk here. We have these gut shots too that often bet, but we don't have a lot of very obvious junk. From out of position though, when you are in these scenarios, you do want to make sure that you're still protecting your checking range decently well, which is why we're checking here with some queens, right? A few kings, and the under pairs and some ace highs that can very, very easily win at the showdown.